I will let you, whenever you're ready, Jessup, to talk about who or what you are repping.
No,
That- well, fine then. I will move to John.
no, I'm ready.
It's about time, Jessup.
I'm still working on my winners.
You have all show to do that.
I'm just trying to work on things to be better, okay, Mason? I'm emotional. Big
You're
sky.
emotional. Gosh, breaking news once again.
You know what, Mason? I don't like your tone.
He
And
said,
for
put it
that,
out.
Speeding up, no slowing down.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Track Packers podcast for episode 14 of season 4. I feel like we're finally getting into the summer weather with how muggy it is the last couple of days, but we got racing to recap with myself, Mason, Mr. Jessup Pelkey, John Brecko, and Becca Pelkey, another full field for the episode. Jessup, how are you doing on this lovely Monday evening?
I am doing just fine, Mason. All things considered, it's been a good weekend, and we're a week and to go from there.
Good deal. John, once again in parts unknown, how are you doing?
I'm in witness protection again. They can only let me out for like 2 weeks at a time.
Apparently.
Yeah, yeah. So, no, I am in Minneapolis this week for a work conference. So, I am on the move again and racking up those sky miles. So, but other than that, I'm doing very, very good. So, as you can tell, race fans, my glow today is a little bit less, and that's because I look a little bit redder. Yeah, I got sunburned today.
John decided to go outside for more than 10 minutes and
Yeah, it was right around 11 minutes and 58 seconds.
yikes. It's a very small threshold for you, but glad to see you're doing all right.
Yes.
Becca, how are you doing on this Monday?
Been it's been a good Monday, but it was an interesting weekend, so looking forward to this weekend.
I'm interested to hear how it was an interesting weekend for you. I had myself a pretty good weekend, considering got to stay within the state and go back home to visit family. So that was a nice end of the weekend, and so it was good to see some old friends and just catch back up a little bit. And so we hope everyone out there also had a great weekend. And as always, thank you to the watchers and listeners of the Track Packers podcast. And we want to give a few shout outs to some of the folks that tuned into the last episode, including Spencer Hupel, Terry Davenport, Blaine Guthmiller, and Michaela Swallow. So thank you all for watching and listening to the podcast. And thank you to our presenting sponsor, Hitch Harness and Tyler Hall out of Fertile, Minnesota. Believe he took this weekend off with the chillier weather and uncertainty of racing on Friday, so some good family time to catch up for Tyler and his family at home. John, tell us about Hitch Harness and the products and services that they can provide for you.
Yes. So if you are somebody that hauls a lot of pieces of maybe equipment or trailers or other items, you typically have a hitch that you utilize to haul a lot of these items. If that hitch is in your truck bed and it's just available to roll around all over the place, boy, that could not be safe. And it could fly out of the truck bed. It could fly through the window, hit a Jessup right in the noggin, and knock him out. So, to prevent injuries further for Jessup, you need to get an hitch harness, something that you can actually anchor down that hitch and keep it into place, but also provide a lot of other accessories and products across the board. So check out hitchharness.com as there's a lot of accessories that you can use for any type of gift if you want to give it to anybody that you know from a friend or family, or if you just want to enhance your truck or your vehicle even further, check out hitchharness.com.
Well said, John, and especially coming off of Father's Day weekend, which let us be the last to wish all the dads out there a happy Father's Day. Could make a nice gift if you still want to get something for that special someone. So thank you, Tyler, for supporting us on the podcast once again this season. As you can see, no change in the lineup. Jessup is still on the pole. John's still outside pole. Becca's in third, and I'm still dead last. Because that's the way things go this year. And so, with the lineup set, we will officially start the podcast with the waving or drop, depending on what track you're at, of the green flag and get into who or what we are repping, as we have a confused Jessup on the top left corner. But who or what are you repping for this episode, sir?
This week, I am wearing a Wade Night Guard shirt. Long time Noosa Sprint guy. Kind of a nice throwback shirt since he's not running full time anymore, but we're cutting our way through my pile of shirts here. And yeah, it's a fun shirt. I like sprint cars, and he was a good runner in our area. And yeah, hopefully he gets back out to the track soon.
Yeah, I feel like he's one of those guys that kind of just substitutes in. I think, was he substituting for Shane Romling a couple times last year?
Yep. I think
Mhm.
Austin Pierce is doing something like that this year.
Yes.
Yep, which I'll be talking about him a little bit later because yeah, Austin Pierce has kind of been coming back out of the woodworks a little bit this year too. But you've had some really cool shirts the last few weeks, so you might want to hang on to a lot of those things.
If anybody would like them, please message the show before I send them off to the local thrift store because I have way too many shirts right now and I need to make room for more.
Mhm.
John, are those your bowling pants I saw?
Where?
Whatever you're holding.
This is a binky.
Oh, I thought those were your bowling pants.
Well, they look very similar.
Why is it a winter blanket?
Because it's winter is coming.
Because it's my binky. It gives me comfort and warmth, just like, when I'm in the wintertime and need to be covered up and be warm. Unlike some other people that think it's winter when it's 90 degrees outside.
To each their own. Anyways, cool shirt, Jessup. John, who or what are you repping besides a winter blanket?
So I am repping my winter blankie. But in all seriousness, I am repping the Mary Vetter Challenge Hobby Stock and Bomber shirt. Brandon Vetter got this shirt for me as part of the challenge that started over at the Dakota Speedway on June 6th and then went to Jamestown on June 7th. And night 3 is this upcoming Saturday night over in Jamestown on the 21st of June before they hit night 4 over at the Dakota Speedway in Mandan on June 27th. And then the championship doubleheader will be at the Tri-County Speedway Fair Races on July 10th and July 11th. So those are the 6-race series for the Hobby Stocks and Bombers. And there's $1,000 up for grabs in the points fund. So Brandon does a lot of work with a lot of sponsors, and the Vetter family as a whole put together a lot of time and effort into this to make it big, to where prizes are given for heat winners, feature winners, other contingency awards throughout the night, as well as the year-end payouts. So that's pretty cool to see as well. Just a great series in memory of Mary.
Excellent shirt. And from what we've seen, the Bomber and Hobby Stock division have had solid car counts across the board, so should be a good turnout for those next few races.
Yes, and I also saw that Mr. Asher Williams is coming back for a couple weeks, and he's going to be in attendance, I believe, on Saturday.
Oh, nice. That'll be cool to see him, the reigning Stock Car Stampede and Jamestown Speedway champion. So, excellent. We'll transition down to Becca with who or what are you repping?
Well, I had volleyball earlier tonight. Rushed home to put Riley down to bed. Almost fell asleep myself, so it's a act of God that I'm here right now. Pretty sure I've worn this before on the podcast, but this is a Tom Andering hoodie that we found in the pit shack one day many years ago at the Dakota Speedway, and I kept it because if I don't know, if somebody really was missing this hoodie, they would have said something 4 or 5 years ago. So, um, yeah, this is my hoodie. I think he's from the Detroit Lakes area. So,
Correct.
That is correct. Yep.
Yeah, that's a cool sweatshirt. I'm out. Well, I wonder if that was, did you find it on like Oktoberfest weekend? Because I'm trying to think of how that sweatshirt would end up over in the Bismarck Mandan area.
I'm pretty sure I found this like 5 years ago in the pit shack, and I've always just kind of hung on to it. And yeah.
I wonder, Mason, if it was part of like when we used to do the Ironman in Mandan and we used to have like the sport mods over there from time to time. Some of the Fargo guys would come over kind of from that area. I have a feeling that might be where it came from.
That or possibly the Too Strong race.
Oh, that too.
Because I remember that year where they kind of went to 6 to 8 different
Yes.
tracks. And so, yeah, cool sweatshirt. That's a cool find. I actually like that. I like the colors on that sweatshirt too. Well, there you go. Well, I'll finish it off for who or what I am repping, and it's all one guy. Loyal listener of the show, by the way. So thank you, Lindsay Hansen, for watching the Track Packers podcast. We'll be talking about Lindsay quite a bit. This is his Midwest modified scheme from a couple years ago. He is now wheeling the IMCA modified number 32 and was in the late models the last couple of years. And so we'll be mentioning him a little bit later in the show, but thank you, Lindsay, for supporting us on the podcast as well. And that is who or what we are repping for episode 14. And we will move right into the hot sauce, hot memory rewind, and give a shout out to Isaac Hot Sauce Sondrol, who had a very busy weekend. I believe from his Facebook post, he did 172 total laps this weekend, which is a lot of laps. Did double duty with the stock car and modified, and it ended up pretty well with pretty good results throughout the weekend. And so be sure to get the lowdown on all the racing that he does, whether it's a lot during the weekend or just here and there. 12S Racing on Facebook is where you can follow him, and feel free to stop on down in the pits and say hi and talk to him and his family and his crew. Some of the nicest people you'll meet. And so thank you, Isaac, for supporting us on the podcast. So I believe I'm taking the reins for the most part on this. Although, Becca, did you want me to share what you found today, or you got it?
I'll lead into it. Do you want me to go first?
Yes.
So Mondays I do sorry. Can I talk some English first? Okay. So Mondays I do a lot of racetrack work, whether it's updating just record keeping files, or if it's scheduling Facebook media posts, content. I do a lot of graphic design. Sometimes I edit videos. I do a lot of racing related things on Mondays. And so was working on updating some just history and files that I keep, and came across something rather interesting from the 2018 Jamestown Stock Car Stampede Junior Slingshot feature finish. And then Mason, if you throw it up on the screen, I was updating some records, as I mentioned, and I came across this feature results. And looking at the list of names, almost all of them, with the exception of one, race currently to this day in other racing divisions. So I know that the slingshots are continuing to grow across the state, racing at more and more racetracks each year. And it's a great starter division for anyone that's interested in dirt track racing to get your feet wet and potentially one day move into something else, whether it's a bomber, a legend, a modified, a late model, whatever it might be, right? And anyway, looking at this list of drivers, all of these guys have moved on into bigger and better things. And it's pretty cool to look back on this from 2018 to see where they are today.
Yep, a wide range of drivers here. Like you look at the top three, you have Dexter Saxon, who's now wheeling an IMCA modified, Keenan Glosser in an IMCA Sport Mod, and Ty Saxon in an IMCA Hobby Stock. So that's just a couple examples on where these drivers all end up, and some of them have even moved on to like late models. Colin Thompson's one of them. Also had Cole Babcock, not even on this list. That's jumped into a sort of late model, and so I agree. Very good division, and I'm sure with the way some of these drivers are progressing, they'll be into different divisions in no time from what I've seen so far.
Mhm.
So yeah, very cool find, Becca. A lot of very cool names and kind of cool to see how like the next generation of racers kind of continue to grow from there. And so love to see that the slingshots are getting more and more across the state of North Dakota and other surrounding areas as well.
Some would say, Mason, that the class is starting to grow and become large.
In some cases, yes, I would agree with that. So to finish out the segment, I did compile a few cars, and what I tried to do is I tried to pick one car from each track that I visited, kind of like in the history of that track. So there'll be one from Nodak Speedway. Actually, there's technically two from Nodak, one from River Cities, and one from the Jamestown area. So y'all ready? The first one's a Minot from Minot, a picture from Minot, and I know I kind of stump you guys with Minot drivers, but I think you'll get this one. Who is this?
That looks like Marlon Seidler.
You'd
I
be
am
correct.
stumped.
I can't believe it.
But we're not looking for that car. We're looking at the car ahead with the beeline service.
Well, you should be able to get that then too, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about beeline service.
It is a Williston business.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure, Mason, if I'm not mistaken, this driver was pretty much dominating on Sunday.
He was.
Would that be fun? I don't know. John
Come on,
Flory.
Becca.
John Nord?
No,
Sorry,
Jessica.
John
Give it to her.
No, she just guessed it correctly.
No, John Flory.
There's just too many Johns.
Give it to her, John.
Jessup was correct.
That's not even the right area part of the state.
No. Oh my gosh. So I had it the same moment earlier today. I was writing the recap for the IMCA modified feature at the Jamestown Speedway for IMCA. And the way I was writing it, I had John Nord and Johnny Carell and just I don't know, a lot of Johns in there, and then there's John Breckle because
Yeah.
that's just,
Well,
yes, I'll take the caution. I know I messed up. I spit out the wrong name. I meant John
Mason.
Flory, who had a dominating performance up at the Nodak Speedway before a caution came out. Did he overheat, Mason? Is that
I think what I heard is his power steering went
Oh,
seven.
did the belt come off?
I think so.
He had a 6-second lead before the caution came out halfway through the feature, and then on the restart, he was slow a lap into the restart, and he had to pull off. And yeah, we'll talk more about that about mine later, but that's pretty cool.
Yep,
Mason, this is Jordan Zilmer out of Gackle.
that is correct. I do not remember the scheme, but I was kind of searching through different albums, and I'm like, I don't remember that scheme at all.
I do.
I figured you would. Move on to this one.
That is Doyle Erickson
Also correct.
up in
Who is
Grand
now
Forks.
who is now in a Wissota modified. And then last one,
That would be the 37 of Kevin Jensen.
very good.
I'm glad we have John here.
And on the top of him is one of the Heifels.
Hiddles.
Oh yes, Hiddles.
Yep, that'll be John Hiddle in the 31.
Is that what track is that, Mason?
That's Nodak Speedway.
Is that Nodak?
Yes, so the grandstand in the background was the old grandstand that was to the north of the main one. This was when the new grandstand was under construction.
Okay. I was gonna say I don't recognize the grandstand at all.
I don't think you can no. So if you see that umbrella, that's where like Larry and Lindsay Lawson would sit for announcing, and I think my dad and I would sit a couple rows below that, but I don't think you could see us in the picture, unfortunately.
Okay. Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, that was an interesting time with the grandstand there.
I
So
have some pretty
that
cool photos.
Good
so
job, Mason.
thank
And I'm
you.
glad you have your hand up the whole time too.
Yeah, I was like it messed up my whole layout and I'm like, what the heck is going on? But apparently if I hold my hand up in this position, it'll do something. Zoom. Technology. Love it. So that does it for the hot sauce, hot memory rewind, and we'll move into the track pack report. Not a overly hefty one like last couple of weeks, but we'll start with the Dakota Speedway on Friday, where the three of you got to see action. I'll go to Jessup first. What was your takeaways from Friday and Mandan?
It was chaotic.
Was it?
It
I heard you
was.
guys got done pretty quick.
I'm
No,
so sorry.
It was a very chaotic start to the night
it was not.
Again, super
for
sorry.
for about the first 30 minutes.
It was terrible. Panic, chaos, and disorder up in the tower.
And a very upset
Again,
Breckle.
super sorry.
John was mad, and ugh, it was entertaining to see the world burn in front of me.
And that's kind of the right term for it. The world was definitely burning.
But that's all right.
Sounds like you guys survived though.
Yep. And it was shocking state of history or pattern that I've acquired. I accidentally fixed the audio,
Oh,
which
that
has
was
now
what was
become a running joke in
It
my
has.
mind
It has.
because there's been at least
At least 4 times, Jessica.
four
At least 4
tracks,
times.
at
Once
least
or
four
twice in
times, and I know
Underwood,
they're
Jamestown.
Yep, because it was Jamestown,
McLean,
Underwood twice,
Underwood twice,
Mandan at least once, if not twice.
twice at Mandan. I know I've fixed it twice, and I know I fixed once out in a Dickinson by pure accident due to some technical difficulties with a piece of equipment before. Another lap track packer was trying to get the radio tower box fixed. And then the next thing we knew, neither John or I knew about this, and none of the audio worked, and all heck was breaking loose prior to the races happening, all the way up to the point of I think the next to last Legends race where we finally got broadcast audio fixed, and we fixed the track audio literally just probably a minute or two before the night even started, and that we had some help with our friends, our tech crew at Rivet, so they helped us out a bit, or they were just as lost as we were, and we were piecing things together, and finally I threw one last setup that I knew worked many moons ago, and it accidentally worked. So that was going into the night.
John, before I go with to Becca with the results, how did Friday go for you outside the initial chaos?
Yeah, so it was chaotic right away. Um, but I don't know. After the chaos was kind of settled down, and we had basically kind of everything kind of in a, how do I want to say it, stable setting. I don't know. I kind of loosened up myself a little bit over the night, and kind of became free will when it came to announcing, and pretty much just kind of had fun and watched the races. And racing action was definitely not too bad on the track. There was a lot of really good battles, especially the stock cars. They put on a really good show in that feature event for many laps, along with the modifieds. But it was a good night overall from the racing product perspective, as well as the feature events. The NX Legends probably kind of stole the show from their feature event because there was a lot of side by side racing up front.
Well, I'll head down to Becca then for who won or your additional takeaways as well.
Again, Super sorry. I suppose the fans in the grandstands, if you were at or the drivers in the pits, if you were at the track on Friday night, you probably didn't know that anything was wrong. John's a true professional and went on with the show as if nothing was wrong. It was the folks who were watching on the DSTV broadcast who probably realized things weren't right because they let us know right away. So yeah, basically our the FM transmitter in our racing tower hasn't worked since the beginning of the season, and I took it upon myself to um, try to get it fixed. However, I couldn't be at the track when the professional came to look at it, and so they were out there and they got it to work, but not at the expense of moving some cords and switching some buttons around. And so when it came
Ooh.
time to come to the track on Friday night and we turn everything on, things weren't working as they should. And so it was a mad scramble about 20 minutes before race time to get everything up and working. So thanks to Jessup and the team over at Speed Sport and Rivet and IMCA TV who really got our audio up and running for Friday night. So we'll have to go back out to the track on Thursday to really tune everything back in the way it should be. But yeah, if you were in the grandstands, or if you were in the pits, you probably didn't have any idea there was this chaos before the race. But if you were watching the broadcast, you probably noticed something was up when the audio wasn't working for the first couple of heat races. But again, thanks to Jessup, he was able to fix that. But otherwise, it really truly was a good night of racing because the show was done with around 9:30, 9:45.
9:45, yep.
And there's some good racing throughout the heats, the B mains, and the features. So, starting off with our slingshot feature event, that was kind of a rough feature in regards to the youngsters really just couldn't get that race started. It was caution after caution, and then they're trying to get these young drivers lined up, and it just takes a really long time to get them lined up, and then for them to go back around the track for their pace lap and take the green flag. They're just some get it, others don't, and there's also there's just a lot of inexperience, but also experienced drivers in that field. So when you have the inexperience up front and you have the experience coming from the back, there just leads to chaos. And it was a rough feature. But Landon Holgren got the win over Caden Davenport. They only got one lap in, and that was the only lap Landon led, and it was the checkered flag lap, or the yellow checkered flag lap, because they reached their time limit because they had so many cautions, and it took so long to get those youngsters lined back up. But it was Landon Holgren who crossed the finish line first under the yellow checker, and that was his fourth victory of the season. In the hobby stocks, Joseph Feist started on the pole. He led all 15 laps to win the hobby stock feature event over Kelly Horner. Moving on to the Inex Legends, the low line was the fast line around the Dakota Speedway. Austin Weiss led early, but it was Bryce Barnhart who got even lower than Austin Weiss to grab the lead about halfway through the feature. But it was Preston Martin who came at the end, charging on the high line, and it was fun to watch because he was getting about a car every lap or two, and he was inching his way closer and closer to the front. And at the finish line, it was almost a photo finish. It was so close between Bryce and Preston Martin, but it was Bryce Barnhart who picked up his second feature victory of the season at Dakota Speedway in a different car than what he won a few weeks back, because after he picked up that win back on May 9th, it was the next time out at Dakota Speedway, he ended up in a terrible rollover in corner 2. And so this was a different car, an older car that Bryce had raced before, and this is the car that he used to find victory lane this go around. Moving on to the IMCA stock cars, it was a really fun battle up front between Dylan Herner and Dustin Frank, because behind those two, it was 3, 4, and 5 wide racing for the positions behind them. And it was fun to watch those guys just really fan out across the front stretch of the Dakota Speedway. But it was Jeff Hellman who really put his car in really tight places and made the most of the opportunity at the beginning of that race to get the lead, or to get at least up to second and third, and then challenge for the lead and take the lead. And he basically pulled away, and that race was his to lose. And so he took home the victory on Friday night for the second time at the Dakota Speedway. And then our final feature of the night was the IMCA Modifieds, where Spencer Wilson was on rails and was really fast, and I don't think anyone had anything for him. That was just a really good race by Spencer Wilson from start to finish, and that was his first victory since 2023 at the Dakota Speedway. So good night of racing. Again, I think we got done around 9:45, and it was just, again, a great night of racing, and yeah.
So Mason, it was a great night in Mandan overall for racing action. We got done at 9:45. We had a lot of great racing feature action. We had a lot of really good heat race action. Track was in very nice shape throughout the night as well, from the little bit of added moisture that we had from the rain earlier in the week and the overcast and cool skies. And you went north because the Street Stock Tour ended up canceling because of all the rain in Minnesota. And you partake in the River City Speedway because you were thinking about the Red River Valley Speedway. But you went to the River City Speedway, and they had 130 cars.
Yes, they had a lot of cars and a lot of visitors with all the cancellations in Minnesota and South Dakota, because pretty much South Dakota got completely wiped out as well from weather, unfortunately. And so I was kind of deciding between Red River Valley and River Cities, and being that River Cities is a track that I don't get to a lot on Friday because there's so many tracks on a Friday, I'm like, we'll venture up to River Cities because I know they're going to have a lot of visitors, and no shortage of action in all the classes. They had their regular divisions, street stocks, Midwest mods, late models, and 410 sprint cars with the added WISSOTA modified. So a very solid field in all the classes. And we'll start with these street stocks. They had 21 of them in attendance. So great field of street stocks on hand. Very good battle. It was like a 3-4 car battle for the majority of the race until another guy that's been on a hot streak to start the year, Cole Gressett, using the low line, got around everyone as they were kind of getting bottled up on the bottom lane. And he went on to get another feature win at the River City Speedway this year in front of Levi Rant and Greg Josie. So not an easy feat, and a lot of heavy hitters there in the street stock division. Second up on the program was your WISSOTA Modifieds, and they had 25 WISSOTA Modifieds in attendance. And this was kind of a wild race because there was quite a few cautions actually throughout the entire night. Modifieds kind of started with the caution fest, especially on restarts, because restarts would get bottled up. Preston Carr in the 5C was looking really good to start things off, and he was trying to hold off TPO, Mike Stearns, Bryce Sword in the 6X, and unfortunately for Preston, they called him for brake checking on one of the restarts when they got stacked up, so that actually sent him to the back. And so that opened the door for TPO, Stearns, and Bryce Sword to go out. With Bryce Sword, took advantage of Tyler slipping up just a little bit on one of the restarts, and he would go on to get his first win in the modified division up at River City. So big congrats out to the 6X of Bryce Sword. Mike Stearns ended up in second, Tyler Peterson in third, and Dustin Strand, misfortune, his heat started 24th, moved up to fourth at the end. So very good run for the 71 machine. Up next was your WISSOTA Midwest Modifieds. They had 29 in attendance, so another great field. They had to run a B main for that. A guy making his first appearance up at the River City Speedway, Ryan Flaughton in the 15F from Madison, started out front and kind of set sail on the field. Of course, you have the local hitters, including Ryan Scow, Austin Hunter, and Matt Scow trying to track him down. Took a little bit for Matt Scow on the 2S, who's kind of been the dominant guy up there, to get to second, and took several attempts to try to get around the 15F as he was sliding up the track in 1 and 2, but finally made the race-winning pass with just a lap and a half to go, and Matt Scow gets the feature win in front of Ryan Flaughton and Austin Hunter in the 44 machine. Late models, great field of late models, of course, with a lot of the cancellations, not many places for late models to race. 33 on hand. So great sign that late models are continuing to grow across the region. And they went 20 laps caution-free. So very good job by the WISSOTA late models on that race. And You have Dustin Strand and Tyler Pearson that if they're kind of in the vicinity of the front, probably going to be going at it. And Tyler Pearson got to the lead from sixth and was able to hold off Dustin Strand through a bevy of lap traffic. Had to make some quick thinking, quick moves to try to get through it all. But TPO gets the win, Dustin Strand in second, and John Seng, who's actually looked really good, finished in third. So good run for the 21S as well. And then the NOSA Sprint cars finished out the night, and this was a long race. Unfortunately, we had a couple rollovers, including Jack Croker in the 8 ball. He rolled over like a few laps in, but he's able to get back out. Just had to replace the wing and a tire, and he made it back out. And then also Zach Omdahl suffered a rollover later in the feature, but both of them were okay. So Austin Pierce, who we kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, is reeling Shane Rolling's car this year. And he was trying to hold off Mark Dobmeyer and Jade Hastings through several of the cautions and the restarts. And lo and behold, even through all the chaos, the 31A ends up in victory lane. So that was the first win as a car owner for Shane Rolling. And congrats to Austin Pierce for getting back in victory lane, holding off Mark Dobmeyer in second and Jade Hastings in third. And so that was your busy and long night at the River City Speedway. I think we got done just a little after midnight. So kind of one of those nights, but with 130 cars, sort of kind of expected a longer night as well. So that was your Friday night action. Moving on to Saturday, where John and I got to take in action at the Jamestown Speedway. John, how would you sum up the night from your perspective?
It was a fun night overall. So the track was in really good shape, to be honest with you, because Jamestown has put brand new clay on the last couple of seasons, right? So they put it on back during around the July to beginning of August timeframe back in 2024. Then they put on brand new clay again at the end of the season in October, and they have been working it in. And each week it's been getting a little bit racier, a little bit more racier. And this week they spent extra time kind of smoothing out a little bit of the rough patches through the middle of the turns that they had from last week's Don Gumpke Racers Memorial. And the roughness was definitely limited and a lot less this week than what it was the prior weeks before that, which provided 3 to 4 grooves for racing action throughout the night. So yeah, so really good night overall.
Yeah, and kind of the weather was kind of a surprise for me too. I left Fargo mid-afternoon. It was kind of cloudy and overcast. And then we get over to Jamestown and like the skies cleared up, not very many clouds, and actually kind of got warm. So
Yeah,
that was a
like,
pleasant surprise.
got to like 71, 72, 73, somewhere in that range before race time, and it was pretty nice overall. So go ahead, Mason.
Yeah, and they had a solid field of cars, 112 cars on a Saturday night, and that pretty dang good, I would say, especially with some other races taking place, including Devil's Lake, that had a very good car count that night as well. And so, why don't we start with the junior slingshots? 9 of them in attendance. That was a fun race to watch.
That was a very fun race to watch because you had 2 guys that have been going at it in Mandan with Landon Hallgren and Caden Davenport, and they went at it for the heat race win, and they went at it for the feature win with Landon on the high side of the track and Caden on the bottom, and they would go side by side, lap after lap.
Yeah, and there was a little contact at the end as they maneuvered lap traffic. Landon got clipped by, I believe it was Matsky in the 24.
Yep.
And so they actually ended under caution. And I believe, was it like 19 thousandths of a second that they went back to the previous lap?
Yep,
Separated the top two?
Yeah, Landon was ahead by 19 one-thousandths of a second at the line.
Yep, so Landon gets the win in front of Caden Davenport. Very fun race in the slingshots to watch and great way to kick off feature action. We move on to the Bombers, which a very solid field of 24 took the green flag. And what didn't happen in this race?
There was a lot of damage across the board and just weird things that happened and a lot of really tough driving. Some pretty big wrecks, to be honest with you. And it kind of allowed for a lot of movers and shakers within the field too.
Yeah, so we had Dylan Thorpe and I believe Trip Nelson kind of starting towards the front with Bradley Stopworth and Brody Michelson, and it was a really fun battle with those 4 to start it off. Had a caution about 4 or 5 laps in, and then from there it just was kind of like chaos on these restarts. Yeah. A lot of carnage, unfortunately. No major issues. I know they were checking on, I think it was Tanner Jacobson, kind of injured his foot a little bit in one of the wrecks, and so, but I think he was okay. But then kind of Travis Ettinger, who started, I believe, 12th?
12th.
He got to the lead and then was trying to hold off Kelly Horner. tracking him down in the last few laps. And then I believe he and Tripp got together coming to the white flag, and both of them simultaneously lost their right rear tires.
Yes,
Flat.
they cut down their right rears right at the same exact time coming out of turn 4, and they both ran on those cut down right rears for the next lap, and it provided a lot of very entertaining action. And it also opened the door for Carly Horner to go, who started 17th on the field, to pass her dad for second, and then Jeff DeBuck, who started 21st on the field, to finish third.
Yep. So Travis Ettinger getting the win, going plus 11, Carly Horner plus 15, and Jeff DeBuck going plus 18 for the top 3. That's a pretty crazy top 3 with the way they started. So fun action to watch in your Bombers nonetheless. Then we move on to your Midwest Modifieds, 20 in attendance, another pretty solid race, and Jaron Webstead again on the front row. It's always going to be a kind of tough guy to catch, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Jaron looked like he was kind of on cruise control front. The Midwest Modified feature was definitely a lot calmer than what we had from the Bomber feature. So still had a fair number of cautions, but it was Jaron holding off Kyle Anderson in a 2-lap shootout for the end of that race, and then a lot of really tough battles because you had drivers in attendance that had been, national point and was over 100 champions over the years, along with Stampede champions over the years of Brennan Waite, who was third. You had Lucas Rodin, who was in the top 5. You had Corey Stork, who was in the top 10. It was a visitor that came over on Saturday. And then Mason, a rookie that came over from Brainerd.
Yeah, so an interesting kind of like national rookie point battle taking place in the Midwest Modifieds. Kyle Anderson, kind of one of our locals, is in the top 3 of that, but also in that is Luke Erlinson out of Brainerd, and so he made the trip over his first time, got to start on the pole for the feature, and actually looked pretty good. Ended up with a 4th place finish, so kind of an interesting little battle to watch for like the national rookie points this early on in the season. So yeah, congratulations to Oh, good.
Yeah, because I think he was second in his heat and 4th in the feature.
Yeah, so a very solid run for his first time ever there. So cool to see him come over and all the other visitors that came over as well. And then again, congrats to Jaron Webstead in the 36 on getting the win. Legends with 22 in attendance. I think this was the race of the night, John.
I would agree. Yeah, I would definitely agree. Boy, talk about a battle up front. You had started off with Casey Martin in the middle and Preston Martin on the high side. And then you had drivers like Noah Madler, who started 12th on the field, coming on the bottom. And I would say, Mason, if I'm not mistaken, Noah and Preston and Casey, there was probably a side-by-side battle up front, probably for a good, 18 out of the 20 laps, probably in that feature event.
Yeah, and it was fun to watch them work all through the grooves, like not just the top 3, but everyone throughout the field was kind of going 3 and 4 wide. It was a fantastic race to watch, and came down to the wire last couple laps on a late restart with Noah down low and Preston up high, but Noah prevailed at the line by about a half a car length.
Yeah, and it was a fun race for the Legends too, because the Legends at Jamestown are always fun when they can start rail on the high side. And this year it's been more kind of the bottom to middle for the Legends. And on Saturday they had a high line that they were able to use for the Legends, and they used it. So yep, and that's where it provided a really good battle up front.
Yep, so congratulations to Noah Madler in the 800 machine for the win, and Preston Martin second. Andy Bargman, another good run in third. Street stocks, 20 of them in attendance. We had... Oh, so go ahead.
No, go ahead. It's all you.
Okay, you're kind of lagging a little bit, by the way.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yep. So Street Stocks with 20 in attendance had a couple of visitors with Street Stock Tour being off. We had guys like Kyle Dykoff and Hunter Carter come over, and Cole Gresseth, who was 3 for 3 going into this weekend. It's going to be interesting to watch that battle. And of course, both of them were in the same heat, Kyle Dykoff and Cole Gresseth. So that was fun to watch. And then they start by side each other in row 2. And Cole, I believe, was the first to break free of traffic, but then Dykoff tracked him down. It was a fun race to watch for several laps.
Yeah, Dykoff has never won a Jamestown. And Cole and him were in the same heat race, like Mason said. They started side by side on the front row, like Mason has mentioned earlier. Just not a fair front row. And then in the feature, they started side by side again, and went at it. And Kyle got the lead on the high side. Kyle was using the high line around the quarter mile, and Cole was more towards the middle. Cole kind of reminds me right nowadays, and Mason, you probably maybe would remember this. kind of uses the same line that Duffy Fromke used to use,
Mhm.
kind of around Jamestown. Cole's been kind of very much in that line. But Kyle got around him, and then Cole tracked him back down in the middle, and they had a really good battle going, and Cole just overdrove it in turn 2 and spun all by himself. Behind them, though, that was a great battle because you had Hunter Carter coming on the bottom. You had Billy Christ working the middle. Billy's back after being on guard duty the last couple of weeks for annual training. And you had KCU status, Jody Michelson, and Dustin Erickson going at it, with Jordan Johnson right there on the high side. So that was a really good race from about 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th on back because there's a lot of really good battles going on within the field.
Yeah, and so that was all taking place behind Kyle, who had pretty much checked out from there. Hunter moved into second on the bottom, and so Kyle goes on to get the win. Hunter Carter started 9th, ended up in second. KCU Saz using a 3-wide pass on the last corner to get into third. So very fun race to watch in your Minnesota Street Stocks as well. And then your IMCA modifieds with 17 attendants finished out the night. A lot of action in this one, a lot of slide jobs, a lot of 2 and 3 wide action. A guy that's had a lot of misfortune, especially in Jamestown to start the season, Lindsey Hansen on the front row with, I believe, one of the douchers. Was it Matt that was on the front row?
I think Todd was on the front row.
It was Todd. So Lindsey got the lead right away and was kind of setting sail, and just there's quite a few cautions during this one, and he'd have to try to stay calm, stay cool and collected on those restarts. I know Becca was kind of watching on the live feed those last several laps, and Lindsey held his composure and held off every challenge because he had guys like Scotty Gartner trying to work the middle, John Nord coming through the pack, and then a late charge from Johnny Cease. So definitely not an easy field behind him to try to hold off for that first win.
No, it was just a great battle overall, and congratulations to Lindsey. He's had a really quick car this year, and he finally was able to finish off feature events. So had a great run at Fargo on Friday, and then capped it off with a win in Jamestown on Saturday.
Yeah, and John, I granted you and Becca would probably know this more, like being in Victory Lane, interviewing the winners and all that. I'm not sure I've seen that many people in Victory Lane for a win like that in a long time.
There was a lot of people that came over right after that feature had finished. So yeah, and it was definitely a celebration down in Victory Lane.
Yeah, I think dang near half the pit area came on over after the race was done. So big congrats out to you, Lindsey Hansen, for getting that first IMCA modified feature win in front of Johnny C, who started 10th, John Nord 11th to 3rd, and Travis Tooley, who didn't even start his heat, starts 16th and gets up to 4th at the end. So good run for those guys, and great way to finish out the racing action in Jamestown on Saturday night. Good solid night of racing. Alrighty, and then finish out the weekend. I went up to the Nodak Speedway for another night. This is their second to last points night because their points championship night is done next Sunday, and then they have the World of Outlaws the following Sunday after that. Becca, you watched a little bit of it. What was your kind of observation of Nodak from the hot tub, I believe, is where you were watching comfortably from?
I was watching the races from Devil's Lake in the hot tub on Saturday night. I was watching the races from the Nodak Speedway on the deck because it was a very beautiful night on Sunday night. First thing I noticed, the track was super tacky, like a lot of moisture on the track, which led to a lot of overheating problems because it was just really warm and really humid. And so you saw quite a few drivers throughout the racing divisions struggle with overheating issues. And then just because the track was just so incredibly heavy, you also saw quite a bit of mechanical problems as well throughout the night. But great racing throughout the features. And yeah, it was a very entertaining night to watch remotely from Darn TV.
Yeah, they had 81 total cars in attendance, very solid field in all the classes, and they ran the Sport Compact feature before intermission, and so they were moving through the program pretty quick, and fun race to watch in the Sport Compacts. We had Zach Eubanks, who's been the guy to beat out in Minot, but he got passed midway through by Brooklyn Tomlinson, the 17, looking for her first win up in Nodak. She's won previously at the McLean County Speedway. and she looked really good to hold off the 27Z to get the win. And so, very popular win for Brooklyn Tomlinson to kick feature action off at the Nodak Speedway. So then, as Becca mentioned, we moved on in the features, and the track didn't slow down one bit throughout any of these features. It was heavy, tacky, made for some fun action. And a guy that struggled to start the year, Darren Schatz, got to lead early in this race. He had to hold off the likes of Keaton Glosser, who was starting to track him down through the field. But from what Darren was saying in Victory Lane, he's had some engine issues, and he had Mike Hagan kind of help him get the car back in working orders. So big win for Darren Schatz in the 29. Chad Stretchen actually ended up in second from 10th, and Keenan Glosser up into third from 8th. And so very fast-paced sport mod feature event. Hobby stocks also fast and heavy. Caden Appelt, guy to beat there, got to the lead right away, but this time he didn't really run away from the pack. He had guys like Kyler Satrin, Cash Saxon, Alex Twite was running really well for the first part of the race until he had some steering issues, kind of sent him back further in the pack. And Caden had to hold off a long charge from Satrin and Saxon to close out that win. Also, Trevor Haas was up there before he had troubles that sidelined him as well. But Caden gets the feature win in the 70 machine. Kyler Satrin started 10th, moved up to second. Cash Saxon 14th to third. So definitely some movers and shakers in your IMCA hobby stocks as well. In your IMCA stock cars, Chris the Crowbar Tuchscher from the pole had the early lead from the get-go, was looking to set sail. But then the guy on the move was the 2K of Kyle Schopp from Canada. He started 8th and tracked down and made the slide job, winning pass on a late race restart. And he gets the feature win. Tuchscher ends up in second, followed by Gabe Deschamps going from 10th to 3rd in your stock cars. Again, not too many cautions, not too much craziness in that race, but great race run by the 2K of Kyle Schopp. And in your IMCA modifieds to finish out the night, I knew this was going to be an entertaining race, although for a while, John Foy in the 19 machine was checked out by more than 6 seconds, and it was like, wow. He wasn't making any mistakes, and growing up watching John Foy race on those heavier tracks is where he really shines. Like, he is very, very tough to beat. They had a caution with about 10 laps to go, and fortunately, I believe his power steering belt blew off a couple laps after that restart, and so that opened the door for everyone else behind him. Steven Pfeiffer was the first to get by him, and then it was a dogfight between Zach Doctor, Isaac Sondrol, Marcus Tomlinson, Jason the Big Show Wall, and they were swapping second through fifth for the last several laps, while 11 of Steven Pfeiffer cruised on home to get the feature win to finish out the night. Jason the Big Show Wall finished in second, and Zach Doctor in the 6Z rounds out the top threes. So fun, action-packed night of racing in Nodak. We were also done, I believe, around 9:30. So very quick night of racing. So it's kind of fun to hang out in the pits for a little while afterwards on a Sunday night. And so that is your Track Packer report for this week. And we will move on to what's upcoming next with dirt track racing in North Dakota with Mr. Dakota Dirt.
Did you know, race fans, if you want to check out your one-stop shop for everything North Dakota racing news, results, and much more, you can check out Dakota Dirt. They are social on Facebook with Dakota Dirt, as well as their website at dakotadirt.org.
Thank you, John. It should be another busy week here of racing for us. Starting on the 19th, it should be the Cheyenne Speedway with their full docket of classes. It's going to be the Wissota Streets, Wissota Midwest Mods, the Gen X Late Models, NX Legends, the Hobbies, and the Short Trackers. That will be Thursday night. Looking at Friday, it's going to be 3 tracks going. Dakota Speedway should be racing. Apparently, it's our Hall of Fame night. Becca, any truth behind that?
That is the Hall of Fame night has been moved to July 18th, the Friday after Mod Tour Championship night.
All right, Hall of Fame night's moved. So we have another regular night of racing. And that will be all of our regular classes. The IMCA Mods, the IMCA Stock Cars, NX Legends, Hobby Stocks, and Slingshots. The River Cities will be racing as well, and it will be a pretty full night of racing for them, as it's no suspense, Wissota Streets, Wissota Mid Mods, the Wissota Late Models, and the Lightning Sprints. And then over at the Red River Valley Speedway, it's Throwback Night and the IMCA Stock Car Kingpin Clash. And they will have just about everybody on hand for them as well, with the IMCA mods, the IMCA Stock Cars, the IMCA 305 Race Saver Sprints, the sport mods, and the hobby stocks and NX legends as well. So a big night of racing over there. Moving on to the 21st, this Saturday, another full night of racing. Southwest Speedway looks to get a race in, as it is first responders night, and they will have everybody racing: the IMCA modifieds, the IMCA stock cars, the sport mods, IMCA hobby stocks, slingshots, and NX legends. Then Estevan Motor Speedway will be racing as well. They got a full night of racing with all their divisions: the mods, the stock cars, the sport mods, the hobby stocks, and slingshots, along with Jamestown, which has the Mary Better Hobby Stock Challenge, night number 2, along with the Kids Night. And that will have all their regular classes with IMC mods, Wissota Streets, Wissota Mid Mods, NX Legends, the Bombers, and the Slingshots. And then finally, there will be the Devil's Lake Speedway, as they have Wissota Late Models, Mid Mods, Pure Stocks, and non-winged sprints. So that looks to be a good night of racing there. On the 22nd, it will be the Tri-County Speedway racing. They have the Midwest Mods, so street stocks, NX Legends, and hobby stocks, along with the Nodak Speedway racing that night, as it is their Magic City Dirt Series Championship, with the IMCA Modifieds racing, the IMCA Stock Cars, IMCA Sport Mods, Hobby Stocks, and the IMCA Sport Compacts. That would wrap up their season points championship. So should be a exciting night up in the Magic City. Mason, what do we have going on around the outside of the North Dakota area?
A lot. It is a lot, including potentially, if I get this out on Tuesday, stuff going on tonight, as the USMTS is making a visit to the Casino Speedway for a Tuesday night show there. I am planning to go to that, so that should be fun to attend. And I believe this weekend, starting on Wednesday the 18th, is the High Bank Nationals down at Huset's with the World of Outlaws. So first of 4 nights down there, so that should be a very fun weekend for all the sprint car enthusiasts out there. I would love to get down there for one of those shows, but probably not going to be in the cards this year, unfortunately for me. So then moving on to Thursday the 19th, we have the Norman County Raceway with their stock car Kingpin Clash taking place. We also have Grand Rapids taking place with their Meet the Drivers night. KRA Speedway is hosting the first of 4 nights for the Fastlane Superstock Series. And then the Victory Lane Speedway is also running. Friday the 20th, we have racing at Brown County Speedway, regular night for them. Red Cedar Speedway having their Meet the Drivers night. The Fastlane Superstock Series heads to Fiesta City Speedway. The NLRA Series heads to I-94. And the Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour kicks off their 3-night swing over at the Princeton Speedway, new track for the Street Stock Tour. Saturday the 21st, Dead Horse Creek Speedway back in action, along with the Cedar Lake Speedway, Greenbush Race Park. Viking Speedway has the Fastlane Superstock Series. Ogilvy Raceway has the Street Stock Tour, and also Madison Speedway, Miller Central Speedway, and Rice Lake Speedway. And then Sunday the 22nd, Bemidji Speedway racing along with Buffalo River and Casino Speedway, while Granite City Motor Park has the 4th night of the Superstock Series and also the Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour finishing out the weekend there. So a lot of big races taking place this weekend. Outside of the state of North Dakota, they've been plagued with weather. So hopefully this weekend, Mother Nature gives them a little bit of a break, because a lot of areas down in those areas could use a break from Mother Nature. So with that, we will display the white flag and give a shout out to the B1 IMCA stock car Brody Carlsrud out of Glendon, Minnesota, who probably wishes he had a little bit better weekend, but still kind of getting the hang of that new car on different surfaces. I know he struggled a little bit over in West Fargo this past weekend, but looking to bounce back this upcoming weekend with a couple big races for the stock cars. And so be sure to check out his Facebook page, Brody Carlsrud B1 Racing, and also his podcast, The Real Deal with B1, so you can learn the ins and outs of his racing program and all sorts of stuff. So thank you, Brody, for supporting us on the podcast as well. Jessup, do you have your wins of the week ready for us?
Yes.
Go ahead, whenever you're ready.
I am ready. So, I have some winners here, Mason. My first winner is going to go to Bryson Yeager. Is it Yeager or Yeager? I know I've heard both.
I think it's Jaeger.
I think it's Yeager too. I know
Yes.
I've heard multiple of both ways, but I'm going to go with Yeager. He had a good weekend here over at the Mountain State Mod Tour over at the Big Sky Speedway, the Sheridan Speedway. He took first both nights there. And then he also got a sixth, I think, at Big Sky as well. So that was good for him. And then my next win will go to let's go Dustin Strand. He picked up a nice feature win up at the Devil's Lake Speedway over a large field of cars that only had one location to go to. So that was a nice win. Over 40 some cars were there, and anytime you can beat a field of 40 Wissota late models, you must be doing something right. And then he also had a nice run over at River Cities in the mods as he went plus 20. And which one do I give it to here? I could go to either person for their Friday night win. Huh. I'll go with Spencer Wilson. Why not? He picked up a nice feature win over at the Dakota Speedway. He was on a rail and was a man on a mission, and nobody could touch him. So, first win in how long at Dakota Speedway, John?
Since 2020.
Nice. Well, those will be my winners, and I will pass it off to whomever is next.
John Breckle, go ahead.
Okay, I've got three. So my first win of the week goes to Aaron Turnbull for picking up a big win over at the McLean County Speedway on Friday for the fair races over there at the McLean County Speedway. So that was kind of exciting for Aaron in that 40-lap feature event. He picked up a big win over there over the likes of drivers like Steven Pfeiffer, and we also had Travis Hagen in the mix over there. You also had Jason the Big Show Walla over there. So really good field of cars over there in the Underwood area. My second win of the week is going over to the 93 Wissota late model, a rookie driver in that division of Kelsey Peterson. Kelsey is a brand new driver in the Wissota late models here for 2025, and she picked up a top three, almost a top two, as she was battling the likes of Chad Becker and Dustin Strand in the Golden Hammer for that $5,000 to win over at Devil's Lake. And Kelsey came home with that third place finish over there for the NLRA, which is a great finish, as it is the highest finish for the female driver ever in the NLRA feature events over there in that series. So that was really cool to see. Kelsey's coming into her own. She's going to be tough for years to come in the late models with the likes of also Amelia and Layla. I think they're also going to be tough in the late model division as well as they get a little bit more experience here over the next couple of years. And my final win of the week. I am going to throw it over to Mason. I'm going to steal one of yours. I am going to take Kyle Dykhoff, because Kyle Dykhoff has had a great start to his season so far. He has run 11 shows, picked up 6 wins so far in those 11 shows, has picked up every single feature win so far of the Dirt Race Central Wissota Street Stock Tour, and then picked up his first ever Jamestown Speedway win on Saturday night in a surprise appearance over in Jamestown. It was nice to see him travel over on Saturday night to get some laps before the Street Stock Tour finale is there in August, on August 8th and 9th. So, yeah, good win for Kyle over there in Jamestown.
Excellent set of wins. He was definitely on my list. Go ahead, Becca.
Wow, I didn't think John would steal Kelsey Peterson from me, so that was I was surprised by that. Kelsey was on my list. Moving on, I want to give one of my first one of the week to Lindsey Hansen, who picked up his very first IMCA modified feature victory over the Jamestown Speedway last Saturday. And he did it in a very dominating fashion, surviving numerous restarts and holding off a lot of strong Jamestown runners such as Scott Gartner, John Nord, John Carell. So very impressive, very first win in the IMCA modified for Lindsey Hansen. Congratulations. I'm going to give my second one of the week to Joseph Feiss over at the Dakota Speedway. He won the Hobby Stock feature event, leading all 15 laps and dominating his feature event. That's his first win of the season, and he's really just he's had a up and down season so far, and I think this is going to be some good momentum for him going into the rest of the summer. And then my third and final win of the week is going to go to Tim Goodwin, who was injured a few weeks ago. He went home from the hospital today. So glad to see him get out of the hospital. I know it's still going to be a long road to recovery, and it might be quite a while before we see him back behind the wheel of his IMCA Sport Mod. But regardless, it's good to see him get out of the hospital and go home with his family. So that in itself is a win. It's as well. So those are my 3 wins for this week.
Good job. You took Lindsey right off the top of my list.
I mean, you're all decked out in him, so sorry.
Yeah. All right. Well deserved win of the week there. So,
Oh, I forgot one of my wins of the week was going to be Jessup for fixing the audio. I forgot. I'm sorry.
yes, good job,
Good
I'll
Jessup.
job,
I'll
Jessup.
I'll let you have Jessup as your win of the week.
Well, I feel like that's more apt for you or John because I wasn't there to witness this. Anyways,
Oops, I messed up.
you can do it as a
Yeah.
bonus win after the 3 wins I
Okay.
have.
You know,
Okay.
it's not a big deal. It's just becoming commonplace. Just
Sorry.
something.
Sorry, buddy.
To fix what you don't know has happened.
Yeah.
I see how it is.
Well, I'll see if you get your moment in the spotlight here after my 3 wins. So the first one, I'm gonna
No,
go.
we're done after your wins, Mason. We're done. I
All
see
right.
how it is.
Okay,
Move on.
fine.
Move
All
on.
right. First win goes to Stony Crook in the 69 machine. Got the street stock win up at Devil's Lake Speedway, holding off a hungry pack of drivers behind him, including Trey Hess and Greg Josie. Very good job to the 69 machine for getting the win up in Devil's Lake. My second win of the week, we're going to go north of the border for this set of races. Brandon Kopp gets a win of the week from me. He swept the modified races both Friday and Saturday up at the Thunder City Speedway. And so very good job to Brandon Kopp. I believe he's on a 3-race win streak now. So finding some speed in that 22 machine. And then my third win of the week, we're going to go down to Knoxville on Saturday and give it to Corey Day, getting the win with the World of Outlaws with 64 cars in attendance. Very large field of sprint cars, as some would say, and Knoxville, not an easy place to win. Congratulations to the 14 of Corey Day for getting the big win. So those are my 3 winners of the week. Any other bonus wins we want to share, or any closing thoughts as we wrap up episode 14?
No.
Any initial plans for the weekend coming up besides our normal routine?
Mason, we're planning on going racing.
That's a good plan. That's a solid plan.
Is it supposed to rain this weekend?
Well, with Mason, we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what you did at the Street Stock Tour last weekend.
He did
I
do a lot
mean-
of damage.
The Street Stock
I
Tour
like-
definitely could use a break from Mother Nature.
I like how the Street Stock Tour post today said leave Mother Nature at home, but yet Mason always shows up on the Street Stock Tour. So
Well,
I know.
Yep. I just
put an
this
ultimatum
isn't-
out there. It's got to be more aggressive and assertive with our demands these days. But that is my plan for this weekend. His Street Stock Tour. Now, Mother Nature, leave us the frick alone.
Uh-huh. Mason, that means you have to stay home. And you
Yes.
have to keep Hurricane Kayla at home too.
In order.
Well, in order, because the last time we were both at the same racetrack, the Mother Nature let us play nice. It's when both of us were not at the track is when things went a little sideways the following day. So I think we both need to be there and things will play out as planned.
We can only hope.
We can only hope. Because it's going to be the case all 3 nights on the tour this weekend. So with that, that'll do it for episode 14 of season 4 for the Track Packers. As always, be sure to like, share, and comment. We'd love to know who's all watching and or listening. Thank you to our sponsors Hitch Harness, The Real Deal with B1 Brody Carlsrud, and Isaac Hot Sauce Sondrol. So it looks like we have summer weather here now for the racing season. So with that, we hope to see you out there packing the track.